TC, Steve Cordasco recently shared another client success story. A couple of my listeners from Denver. By the way, one of Dan's 1505.
The 1505, yeah.
The anchor man in Denver.
Kyle. Yeah.
Do you think Steve Cordasco's clients watch Kyle?
Everybody watches Kyle.
A couple of my listeners from Denver, they got hit with a large and unexpected tax bill. They're self-employed, were about to lose their tax credit for healthcare coverage because they exceeded their income limits. Does that sound familiar? Heard me talk about the Cordasco Financial Network, now a part of Mercer Advisors. They made the call. What number did they dial? 855-558-3500. Steve Cordasco, Tim Joseph on his crew. I know Tim uncovered additional expenses and further depreciated a rental property of theirs, which reduced their taxable income and turned an unexpected tax bill into a $4,000 tax refund. Isn't that great? Cordasco Financial Network, that's a trade name owned by Mercer Global Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Andrew Garrett, Inc., not affiliated with Cordasco Financial Network or Mercer Advisors. Client experiences will vary. Successful incomes are not guaranteed. Time now for the headlines from Smerconish.com, the newsletter. By the way, we are like a week away from brand spanking new, all new looking Smerconish.com homepage.
It's amazing. I cannot wait for it to launch. I really can't.
Well, yesterday was the day that everyone who got the advanced look on the team had to provide line by line, note by note edits and suggestions and so forth. And now those have to be incorporated. Then I get one more look and then it launches, hopefully in time for the unconvention, which is next Friday. So
you have a little bit going on in your
life?
On. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, brand new website, a lot of time, a lot of expense, but we think, and this was the goal, we think a greatly enhanced user experience.
There's no question.
So you know how much I love the daily poll question.
Yes, you do.
A large part of what caused me to finally do this was to just make it easier for you to vote. Are you going to see an ad or two? Yeah, you are. But you're not going to have to run the gauntlet.
Right.
And it's clean.
It's really clean.
What would you say? Because you invested a lot of time last weekend in reading.
Yeah, it's clean. It's crisp. You have a homepage that then allows you to go immediately to any part of the website. So it's very, very easy to navigate. It's very user-friendly. It's very intuitive, and it's crisp. And I know you really like those crisp, clean lines. So everything about it both looks great, but also functions really well. And that's the ticket. That's what's most important.
And if you're interested, there will be merch.
There will be merch.
There will be merch.
Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Fun stuff.
Yeah.
The poll yesterday, 12,969 votes were cast. Was speculation about Lindsey Graham's sexuality on MSNBC and The View appropriate? Those of us who voted no, hooray, I was in the majority.
It's a rarity.
70.3% of us said no. Was not appropriate.
Right.
The remainder said that it was. If you missed that conversation because it was serious and it was also a little bit of fun, you can listen to it as my daily podcast, yesterday's episode, TC, titled A Lot of Fachina.
I mean, that's so wrong and so right. Right. It kind of defines it, doesn't it?
We had a conversation about James Bond.
We did.
We had a lot of interesting conversations.
Yes, we did.
All right. So, love this one. Presentism.
Indeed.
Presentism.
I learned something.
Should history be viewed through the lens of the present? The president of the American Historical Association is named James H. Sweet. He wrote a piece and then quickly he didn't pull it out. I appreciate the fact that he didn't try and take it down, which would have been stupid because you're still going to be able to find it.
Right.
Instead, he just appended a note and essentially said, I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, very much so. Very, very, very apologetic. He's still kind of underwater. I mean, people are calling for his resignation and the cancel culture is all out for him. It's a really interesting topic.
He teaches at the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Mm-hmm. You know, when we reflect on, say, the founding fathers, should we be doing so through a 2022 lens, or should we be evaluating them in the context of the time in which they lived?
Right.
I hope people get that. from the question.
Hey, they might have to listen to the program. You know
which
what I'm
would
saying?
which would also be a good thing.
Right.
So in the thumbnail for today's YouTube video, 2 long lines of cars.
Yeah.
Which would you rather be in? The answer is neither.
Yeah.
One of them, Floridians seeking to flee the path of Ian, now a major hurricane set to strike the Tampa area, where you said it's expected to hover
That's what
for a while.
The fear is that it's going to slow down, but have the speed. In other words, the winds are going to be strong, but the speed is going to be slow. And the fear is that it could be there for 48 hours or something, which would be the worst case scenario. So they're all, as is always the case with their thing, there's like the European model, there's the American model. Who knows what will happen, but everyone's keeping a really close eye on it. And hearts are going out to all our Floridian friends.
And as much fodder as Governor DeSantis has provided us relative to the migrants and the vineyard, I'm going to make a point about that, which I think is going to surprise everybody in a moment. This is where the rubber meets the road for politicians, okay? Potholes, snow removal,
Right.
and preparedness for a storm like this. So it's a big challenge for DeSantis. I saw Marco Rubio talking, among other things, about the threat of Ian, and I was reminded of the fact, and I get the storms confused, but within the last 3 years, when there was a really big storm and it was coming for the east coast of Florida,
Right.
I remember distinctly that he was one of those who was imploring the public, you've got to leave, you've got to evacuate, and then he stayed.
He didn't. Yeah, that's
With his
right.
family.
Yeah, that's right.
With his family.
Why did he do that? I can't remember. There was a reason, or presumably. I don't know the answer to that.
Let me make my DeSantis related point right now. I saw this headline at Fox News, and it's in today's newsletter at Smerconish.com. And it's not that I was disbelieving, but I wanted to actually see it in the source. The source is a CBS News poll, which I have in my hand. And, this may surprise you as well. Here's the question, and I wanted to see exactly how it was worded. As you may know, some Republican governors have sent migrants from the U.S.-Mexico border to other Democratic-leaning areas in the U.S. Do you approve or disapprove of these actions? Okay, so this is an answer from CBS YouGov, reputable pollster. This is the answer of Americans in terms of whether they're approving of DeSantis sending the migrants to the vineyard, or Abbott, or Ducey. Think for a moment, what do you think the answer is in terms of the approval or disapproval? Do more Americans approve or disapprove of what those governors have been doing? I would think, based on the media coverage of it, that you would think most Americans disapprove, and probably by a significant margin. But you would be wrong. 51% approve, 49% disapprove. And when you break it down by party, the approval among Democrats, 20%, the approval among independents, 48%. What really tips the balance is that Republicans so love it, 87%. So Republicans and Democrats don't like it. Republicans love it. Independents are in the middle, 52-48 disapproval. But it is a huge motivator for the GOP base, and that's why it will continue. As I spoke yesterday and as I spoke on CNN on Saturday, the football analysis in terms of where it's bouncing next and which issues are people most passionate about. And I've said each side has something in its arsenal. I mean, Republicans have inflation. Republicans have crime. Did you see that video? It's being shown on a loop on Fox. And by the way, it deserves to be shown, of a guy beating a grandmother in a New York City subway. It is
awful.
Horrible.
Awful.
And then needs to be shown. I don't need to see it on a loop on Fox, but I need to see it, and it needs to be shown on the other cable outlets.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Horrible.
They think she might lose an eye. Oh.
She's lucky she's not losing her life.
I know.
But the point is,
Terrible.
Republicans have crime that they're using. Republicans have inflation. I'll get to gas prices in a moment, which are on the rise again, ticking up slowly. And this border issue is huge. It's huge. Okay, the other long line, I digress.
Oh, yeah,
the other long line of cars are in Russia of men fleeing, trying to cross the border into Georgia, Kazakhstan, and even remote Mongolia, all captured by these satellite images of a Colorado-based technology firm, which shows long lines of cargo trucks and private vehicles entering the neighboring countries in the wake of Putin's mobilization effort. I guess today we get the result of the sham election. Will it be,
I mean, it's a big mystery. I don't know who's going to win.
Will it be 98%? Who knows? And here's a name that you haven't heard recently, Snowden.
Snowden's in the news.
Snowden has now been granted citizenship by Putin. You wonder what Snowden thinks. It's been a long time, 2013, almost a decade now.
And he's been in Russia, right?
He's been in Russia.
Was
he went to Hong Kong first.
Okay, I knew there was somewhere else.
Like, do you even remember? I have a recollection of it. It was the global surveillance, program that caused him to flip. This was in like the Clapper era of intelligence gathering.
Vague recollection.
And he was, as I recall, I think it was Booz Hamilton. He was working for a defense contractor.
Right.
And he saw things and grabbed all that information, dropped it.
What does his daily life look like now? What does he do all day?
That's what the question I'd most want to know, especially now. How can, unless you're Roger Waters, how can you look at Russia's invasion of Ukraine and not be horrified? And now this is like,
hey, your team is my team.
Does he want to be a citizen? Does he
have a choice?
If he could do it all over again,
oh boy,
and go back to the life he was destined for.
Feels like a Sunday poll question.
Wow, write that down. It might be. It might be
Snowden's life.
Other news in Russia: a gunman, 34 years old, slaughtered 15 people at his former school, inspired, they say, by Columbine. I wondered if we had recently marked that anniversary. We hadn't. It was April. The asteroid. Maybe the asteroid's the maybe
so cool.
I guess I thought I was going to see like something go poof, but I didn't.
Well, you saw
that tipped it.
By the way, do you know that DART stands for Double Asteroid Redirection Test? That's what DART stands for, Double Asteroid Redirection Test. The whole idea is like, if something's going on a track and you just give it a little tiny nudge, like nudge, then it goes slightly off track. That was the idea. We're not trying to blow up an asteroid. We're supposed to send something.
I get that now. I get that. I know. We're trying to like just frankly
nudge like a teet.
Right. Well, I remember the game. Okay. Remember Asteroids was a great. Did you play it?
Mm-mm. Is it like Frogger?
I don't know.
Is it a computer game?
Yeah. It was a great one.
I remember that.
There was a
they'll fire at you and you're like.
Okay, my recollection is that you had like a ball that you manipulated, and the spaceship would turn around, and then with the other hand,
you're hitting.
I think it was like this.
Firing. Yeah, I liked Frogger. Dun, 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 dun,
I was never sophisticated with these things, but I did like Asteroids. And I also liked...
so Asteroids is what you thought of with DART?
What's that? Pac-Man?
Oh, yeah. Pac-Man's awesome. Go to an old pizza joint. You can play those and Ms. Pac-Man.
Right. Go to Scorno's and get a slice.
That's what we need. That is what we need. Get a slice and play Pac-Man. Oh, we got to have Pac-Man at Scorno's.
Some politics, if I may.
Please.
So The Hill has ranked the 7 Senate seats most likely to flip. The Senate, 7 Senate seats, there we go, most likely to flip. What's number 1 on the list? Pennsylvania, where Pat Toomey is the Republican incumbent. He's retiring. You know this. It's Fetterman and it's Oz. They are saying that it is a Fetterman lead, but only by a couple. And a brand new survey just came out from Fox 29, the Fox affiliate in Philadelphia, which says that the Senate race is a 45-42 race. I think that race is a close race. Now, the gubernatorial race in Pennsylvania, another of the highest profile races in the country, is the subject of an enormous full-page New York Times print edition story today. They put it online yesterday. You know how how that works, but it's in the paper today. In Pennsylvania, Mastriano's campaign is quickly losing steam. The same survey that says Fetterman and Oz are close says the Republican in the gubernatorial race, Mastriano, is trailing Josh Shapiro 52-37. So seemingly a blowout, but the Phillips Academy poll says that it's Shapiro only 3 points ahead of Mastriano.
Whoa. That's kind of a huge difference.
Huge.
That's a huge difference.
Huge difference.
Okay, what's the deal?
Here's
what I think. Anything could happen. That's my attitude. Seriously.
Yeah, of course.
Anything.
Of course. Well, Robert Cahaley.
Not just your football, but like literally anything could happen.
Robert Cahaley from Trafalgar has been saying both of these races are very close to the margin of error. But when you read the Times analysis, and it's all true, how, the cavalry is not coming. The Republican Governors Association, which is helping the party nominees in Arizona, Michigan, and 6 other states, has no current plan to help Mastriano. Mastriano's not even on TV. I had a funny thing where I said this a week or two ago, and a caller called in from Central Pennsylvania and said, I see him all the time. I'm like, no, you're watching negative commercials from Josh Shapiro. So maybe the races are close. What else did I want to tell you? Maggie Haberman's new book is getting a lot of attention about Donald Trump. He can't resist giving her interviews.
He cannot resist.
Can't.
Because she's so entrenched. Like, she is the one to give interviews to. And so I think he sees her as the ultimate, and therefore he has to get involved. That's how I see it. I don't know how else to see it.
So it's one of these books where
comes out next Tuesday.
Highly anticipated. Yeah. So already, because people have seen the advances of the book, they're publishing lists of here are the crazy things.
Give me a taste.
Okay, well, Mediaite has their 5 crazy things from the book.
Are they crazy?
Trump tells her he wasn't even watching TV. On January 6th.
He's always watching TV.
Right. Exactly. He's watching TV now. Right. Hopefully he's watching us. Okay, but the big Trump, bury the lead here, the big Trump related story,
the biggest Trump news of the day
is that, and I know there are a lot of different lawsuits and potential criminal prosecutions and so forth, but Donald Trump is again retaining lawyers we know to defend him.
They were here in studio.
A Philadelphia-based attorney known for representing former President Donald Trump in his second impeachment trial has joined the defense team in a criminal case against the Trump Organization headed up by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Michael Vanderveen will defend the organization in the case. The firm announced his participation in a post to its website over the weekend. It's not just Vanderveen. It is also veteran criminal defense attorney William J. Brennan, frequent guest of this program, collector. Hoarder known to my entire audience, and Bruce L. Castor Jr.
I mean,
so that triumvirate of Philadelphia lawyers are again representing Donald Trump.
Friends of the show.
And by the way,
we have a bit of an insight and a bit of an inside.
By the way, TC, remember after impeachment 2, when Misters Vanderveen and Brennan came in studio, did we release that as a podcast?
I think that was right before we started the podcast. It must be published, though. I'm sure it's available. I'll find it. I'll get it out on social media. It is so interesting and so good, and I could have listened to the three of you for all 3 hours of the program.
Right.
But I think they were here for a full hour. Am I right?
Yeah. It was a great conversation and such an interesting insight. And it wasn't so much the legality, the legalese.
No.
It was all the back of the house.
It was the stories. It was the back of the house.
What's it like to stay?
These are Philly guys.
What's it like to stay in a Trump hotel when you're representing Donald Trump?
Yeah, these guys are they are not dull. They are not.
They are not dull. Right, and they are now back in the mix of all of this. Yeah. I'm on a tear. I just want to say this. I'm on a tear with good books.
Oh, good.
So Nina Totenberg's book I really enjoyed about her 50-year relationship with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I've read it. She's already been here, and I've done the interview. Buzz Bissinger's book, The Mosquito Bowl, about this football game played in Guadalcanal before the battle at Okinawa, where all of this extraordinary college football talent existed among two Marine regiments, and they played one another. 65 guys played, 15 of them were dead. 3 months later, in the bloody Battle of Okinawa, it's about the football game, but really so much more. So I'm 2 for 2 in terms of the last 2 weeks. And now, last night, I got about a third of the way through this brand new Mike Rinder book called A Billion Years.
Fascinating.
He was at the highest level of Scientology and raised in a background of Scientology, worked for L. Ron Hubbard. I mean, like, the guy has really lived the life. He's not one of these outsiders who has tried to write an expose on Scientology.
No, he was in.
And I'm totally into this book, and he will be here soon, right?
Yes. If not the end of this week, early next.
And also...
Something else?
Yeah, Scott Galloway.
The best.
My friend Scott Galloway, the NYU professor.
That's Friday. He'll be here Friday.
He will be here Friday on his new book.
Yes.
And I only bring them on if I'm really into it. And these are all great books. All great books. Okay, presentism. Presentism is the focus of today's poll question at Smerconish.com. Should history be viewed through the lens of the present? Should we evaluate the events of the past through our modern sensitivities and sensibilities? I cannot wait to see how that one turns out. So go to Smerconish.com. You know why you want to go to Smerconish.com? Take your last couple of looks at the website in its present incarnation. Excited to see many of you in Philadelphia in a week at the Unconvention. Everybody else can participate as a virtual delegate. It's all good. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening.